right now a buyer's market or a seller's market?
On paper, it's a seller's market. Inventory is extremely low. With that being said, you work with me as a buyer. It's a buyer's market. We're going to make it work for us because there's things we can do to put all the odds in your favor. That's what we want to do. If you're a seller, we'll put all the odds in your favor for that side of the coin. So it can be done on both. Don't let that buyer or seller's market scare you. If you miss out buying today and prices continue going up and rates continue going up, you're really missing out. So oftentimes we step over pennies to get to dollars. No, we step over dollars to get to pennies. Which one is it? It's one of the two. Whatever one's worse, that's what we're doing.
Do you work with buyers and sellers?
Yes, work with buyers and sellers. We've got a killer listing team. Lori on our team manages really start to finish on the listing side, the details, making sure every detail is accounted for, making sure you're communicated with, if changes need to be made, if showings are happening or not happening, if we're getting feedback. We've got Chadia who also works in tandem with that to make sure that all the details are accounted for. And then my job is to negotiate the best possible price for you. I'm an expert in valuation, so making sure we're pricing it correctly. And I do have some opinions on the marketing stuff. I got a lot of opinions about a lot of things. So that's on the sell side. On the buy side, yes, we work hand in hand with buyers all the time. I love working with buyers. The best thing about buyers, in my opinion, is we get to control our time frame. If you want to buy a house tomorrow, we can buy a house tomorrow. If you want to slow roll it like the lady I just spoke with who's moving here from New Jersey and thinking a year out, that's perfectly fine. I like to be a part of that conversation even a year out because we can help make sure we're putting all the right things in place to get you where you want to be. We can get all of our team around you, get the ducks in a row, and make a good buying decision.
Why do you feel like Core Group is better than the other real estate companies out there right now? What makes us different?
Why do I think Core Group's better than other real estate companies? Well, one, it was my brainchild. But no, really the goal of that, I think there's a lot of good agents out there. I would never talk bad about particular agents. I think experience matters. I think training matters, and I think personalities matter. So I think all those things. So I'm not the best person for everybody because you might see the world very differently and not want to negotiate the way I negotiate, or you might want to, whatever it is, I may or may not be a good fit for you. I feel like I'm a good fit for everyone, but that's certainly not true. And I know that even within our office, sometimes it's like, I need to put you with so-and-so because you guys will just really click. You guys think the same, right? Sometimes that's very helpful. Or you need somebody who thinks the complete opposite of you. But everybody's not okay with that. So I think there's always but let me go back to experience. I mean, we're selling, 300 plus homes a year. We are getting a lot of at-bats. The beautiful thing about that and what we do is we take everything we learn from every transaction, because there's always, in real estate, there's always something that happens that like, man, I've never seen that before. I've never even thought about that, thinking about that before, right? Every time that happens, our rule is that we make sure it never happens again. So we have a collaborative community team kind of concept. So our transaction coordinators are overseeing every transaction. They meet on a regular basis with these pipeline meetings. So when we have an event that happens, that's like, man, how did that get by us? We put a policy in place to make sure that never happens again. So I'm trying to think of a small example. Stupid example, but an alarm code. Are you going to set the alarm when you leave for showings? Well, if we need to make sure that the buyer's agent knows to turn the alarm off, or if we need to account for that some other way, that needs to be something that when we're sitting down with you to list your home, that we're doing an intake on and making a part of our process for that showing. So that's an example of one thing that we're not going to miss in our checklist of things because we've learned that lesson a long time ago, right? I don't want to call you for a silly question while I've got a buyer there and an alarm going off. I want to have all those answers and have those answers handled. When you list with somebody who's listing their very first home, there's so many things that they have not even considered yet. So we're 100 miles ahead of them down the process of getting you to the finish line. Because the one thing we also preach is it's not about contract, it's about close. What are those other fine little things we can negotiate on your behalf that I've learned along my way, that other agents in our office have learned along their way, that we can bring to bear for you to get you a deal that's going to protect you, get you the highest amount of money, and get you where you want to go.
Should I buy a new home or an existing home?
Depends on your preferences. I really don't care. I like both. I live in a 1925 home, so I got an old home. I dream of building a new home one day. So I think, I think when we view home as, I always try not to laugh, but when I'm dealing with a newly married couple or somebody that says I want to buy my forever home, man, forever is so long. I don't even want to think about that. When you ask me about being my forever home, the first thing my mind does is say, do I want to die here? So most people see it as like happy ever after. I'm like, do I really want to die there? No. So I don't know. Everybody handles this differently. So my goal is not to apply what I like to you. Do I like this new home community? I want to find what you want. I want to make sure you're not getting into an issue. I want to, anytime we're representing someone on the buy side, I want to be able to have the conversation that when it's time to sell, I want to be there to represent you, and I want to be confident that we'll be able to sell a good product because we made a good buying decision. Other than that, is the carpet this color or this color? I don't really have a concern. I want to get what you want for a good price.
All right, and one piece of advice for our buyers and our sellers out there.
That'd be two pieces of advice. I'd say a piece of advice for a buyer or a seller: make sure you get a good agent. Make sure you listen to, once you've chosen that good agent, make sure you listen to them. So little things like recommendation and who your lender's going to be, recommendation with different things you should do, even if it costs a little money to do it in particular inspection. If it's something that could be a tens of $20,000 plus of an issue, spend that extra money and make sure you're putting yourself in a good position, protected. So don't skip steps along the way. Go through it right. Give yourself plenty of time. Get all the right advice. Bring all of your A team into fold. So if you've got a financial advisor, a CPA, let's have those conversations. Make sure you're making a good decision. Can I do one more? One more. If you're going to get a loan, get a pre-approval for a loan, first, go do a personal budget. Do your personal budget first before you go get pre-approved. Here's what will happen. I make this amount of money. I've got this amount of money to spend. I spend this much amount of money right now on my apartment, and that feels pretty comfortable, but much more than that, I'd feel stretched. Next thing you know, you've got a $600,000 pre-approval, and you're coming out of a one-bedroom apartment. Oftentimes, if you've been financially responsible, you're not full of debt, your pre-approval, especially with interest rates where they are right now, will be much higher than you're comfortable with. So do your pre-approval and then get somebody to help you stay in budget with what you want to purchase, not with what you're pre-approved for. That's how people get in trouble. That's my advice.